I wasn't on the hype at all. Yeah, I mean, I saw it at E3 a couple years ago, and I mean, it looks very impressive. The systems didn't really do much for me, but I'm willing to give it maybe the benefit of the doubt. But I also don't think it's necessarily like everyone needs to buy it. You know, if you're interested in it, you know, just go in and be aware of like what you're getting. You know. I'm on the hype. I love that game, that genre. Well, it's awesome, Comrade Manners. More power to you. I don't want to, extinguish the hype of anyone who's excited. Did you see the based Cartoon Network clip? No, but I was going to cover that. Let's look that up right now while I'm remembering it. Where is it? Where is it? Send me the link. The linky? Wait. Show me the clip. Wait, this is TikTok.
These textbooks are incomplete. There were black Roman warriors, black medieval knights, black classical musicians, black cowboys, black fighter pilots. Where are they? I worry about you humans because you only live, about 100 years? You rely on these stories to know your own history. Thanks to systemic racism, most of your storytellers prioritize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture. Ask yourself as you're learning history, who's telling the story? Was this modified to make white readers comfortable? Are major details being left out that would credit people of color and center their point of view? These textbooks are incomplete. There were black Roman warriors, black...
All right. I don't know if that was the full video, though. That seemed like it was longer.
These textbooks are incomplete and center the point of view?
Awesome. Oh, wait. There are two? Oh, awesome. Yeah, it is a little bit longer. Here we go. Knew it. Knew it. All right.
All right, class. Can anyone tell me who invented the light bulb?
Thomas Edison!
That's not entirely true. The light bulb could more rightfully be attributed to Lewis Latimer, the black inventor behind the filament inside the bulb.
His invention made light bulbs affordable and efficient enough for the general public, bringing electric light into households around the world.
Well, so now you know. Wait, is that it? Hold on. We're not going to mention why he invented the filament? To create a better standard of living for people who had only just been freed from slavery? Are we going to ask why kids are apparently learning about Thomas Edison?
Thomas Edison!
Ugh, and not learning about Lewis Latimer? These textbooks are incomplete. There were black Roman warriors, black medieval knights, black classical musicians, black cowboys, black fighter pilots. Where are they? I worry
Fun fact, Mozart was black. Just throwing that out there.
about you humans because you only live, about 100 years? You rely on these stories to know your own history. Thanks to systemic racism, most of your storytellers prioritize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture. Ask yourself as you're learning history, who's telling the story? Was this modified to make white readers comfortable? Are major details being left out that would credit people of color and center their point of view? Honestly, I should have asked for script approval before agreeing to do this.
We'll do some rewrites. I'm sorry. We didn't know.
Well, so now you know. I swear.
That's pretty based. Pretty based and cool. Based and cool. Here we go. So there is a bit of like controversy. I was irresponsible in just saying that Mozart was black. Wait. Wait a minute. This is not what I was looking up. 1 second. Huh. I was looking. Wait. Okay. So there's a I don't think it was.
Medieval Knights,
Oh my
Black
gosh.
Class.
Please stop. Please stop. We're going to exit out of that. All right. So there is some like debate. There's actually a lot of debate about whether or not Beethoven was black. I said Mozart was black. Um, just looking up something, so I'm actually saying like words that are real. Okay. Yeah. All right. Mozart, I do not believe was black. Sorry, I misspoke. Beethoven may have been black. So Beethoven, there's like a lot of questions because a lot of people described him in ways that are consistent with describing black folk at the time. Let's see. Yeah, honestly, it's a question that has a lot of people. No, I wasn't thinking of Xavier de Saint George's. I was confusing it with this thing that came out of um, social media a while back. Betty Boop was black. Oh, that is interesting. Um, clap, 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 clap. Um, so yeah, we can look through this real quick. Exactly 80 years ago, after 80 years after Beethoven's death in 1907, the British composer Samuel Coleridge Taylor began speculating that Beethoven was black. Coleridge Taylor was mixed race with a white English mother and a Sierra Leonean father, and said that he couldn't help noticing remarkable likenesses between his own facial features and the images of Beethoven's. Having recently returned from the segregated U.S., Coleridge Taylor projected his experiences there onto the German composer. If the greatest of all musicians were alive today, he would find it impossible to obtain hotel accommodations in certain American cities. Oops. God damn it. Not now. I'll do it later. There we go. During the 1960s, the mantra Beethoven was black became part of the struggle for civil rights. By then, Coleridge Taylor had been dead for 50 years and was all but forgotten. But as campaigner Stokely Carmichael raged against the deeply ingrained assumption that white European culture was inherently superior to black culture, the baton was passed. Beethoven was as black as you and I, he told a mainly black audience in Seattle, but they don't tell us that. A few years earlier, Malcolm X had given voice to the same idea when he told an interviewer that Beethoven's father had been one of the blackamoors that hired themselves out in Europe as professional soldiers. Beethoven was black became a refrain chanted on a San Francisco soul music radio station, and in the 1960s. Cake, please. If you have information, please post it in the Discord. I would love to see it. No, Biden was a black candidate back then. Gosh. Hit mass consciousness when Rolling Stone magazine ran a story headlined "Beethoven was black and proud" in 1988. Two white students at Stanford University in California, following a heated discussion about music and race, defaced a poster of Beethoven, giving him crude stereotypical African American features, an act reported in the press as an act of racism. Itchiness about Beethoven's cultural dominance would begin to bring classical music out in occasional hives. Would continue to bring classical music out in occasional hives, and in 2007, Nadine Gordimer published a collection of short stories called Beethoven Was 1/16th Black, but the issue of race largely lay dormant until this year, the 250th anniversary of his birth, when, against the backdrop of COVID-19 becoming inextricably linked with the Black Lives Matter movement, echoes of Carmichael and X were voiced, coming from directions nobody expected. William Gibbons, a musicologist at the College of Fine Arts in Fort Worth, Texas, had already put a bomb under classic music Twitter with a thread that began as 2019 winds down. Here's a short thread about one of my big resolutions for 2020, spending a full year avoiding Beethoven. Then the pandemic struck and swept up all the Beethoven celebrations aside anyway. With Europe heading towards lockdown, the composer Charlotte Seether, debating at the Beethoven House in Bonn, caused a stir when she spoke of Beethoven fatigue, of Beethoven fatigue, and of his toxic cult of genius and thinking in categories of dominance. Andrea Moore, assistant professor of music at Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts, writing in the Chicago Tribune, called for a year-long moratorium on Beethoven performances. His music is ubiquitous, she reasoned, so how about using the Beethoven-sized hole left to commission new music, then return to the composer with fresh ears in 12 months' time. Moore's proposal would end positively, at least. I don't have the info. I want the website you shared with us so I can share. Oh, gotcha. Can you forward? Gotcha. Yeah, here we go. There you go. And if you want information, like here's the letter from the spending bill. There you go. All right. We got Beethoven back, plus a stack of new compositions, but the truth is Beethoven is like Michael Rosen's bear hunt. You can't go over him, you can't go under him, you have to go through him. Academics manufacturing a culture war in which there can be no winners is a very 21st century way of dealing with a figure perceived as a problem. You turn him into a straw man and complain about being triggered. Carmichael and Malcolm X were far wiser. They didn't advocate canceling Beethoven, nor did they deal in easy gesture politics. The stakes were too high. Was Beethoven black? The evidence is scant and inconclusive. The case rests on two possibilities: that Beethoven's Flemish ancestors married Spanish blackamoors of African descent, or that Beethoven's mother had an affair. But the truth Carmichael and Malcolm X sought was not scientific. Beethoven was black was a grand metaphor designed to unsettle and shake certainty. Metaphors ran right through black music. Edward Ellington and William Basie were ennobled by the status of a duke and a count. And the most intricate metaphor of all was spun by the Alabama-born band leader Herman Blount, who had begun to perform as Sun Ra. Blount, like Malcolm X, originally Malcolm Little, rejected his given surname as a slave name and created an elaborate metaphorical backstory about Sun Ra, an alien from Saturn who descended to Earth to preach peace and togetherness. Corey Mwamba, musician, researcher, and presenter of BBC Radio 3's contemporary jazz program Freeness, thinks that the metaphor has retained its potency. The statement that Beethoven was black was a description of a very canonical way of thinking, he tells me. It makes us think again about a culture that gives his music so much visibility. Had Beethoven been black, would he have been classed as a canonical composer? And what about other black composers lost in history? Among many black composers whose work has disappeared from history, the story of Julius Eastman is perhaps the most telling. As composer, singer, and pianist, Eastman was a vital part of the 1960s and 70s New York music scene, his open-form scores fusing the loops of minimalism with the grooves of popular music, a volatile synthesis that often detonated into free improvisation. Before his death on the streets and homeless in 1990, he loaded his pieces with deliberately provocative titles that pushed the spirit of Beethoven was black, from slogans towards something that actually happened in sound. In his recent book, A Hidden Landscape Once a Week, Mark Sinker reported his conversation with the photographer and writer Val Wilmer about when she interviewed Steve Reich, who had recently completed his landmark piece Drumming based on drum patterns he had heard in Ghana. Talking about an African-American musician of mutual acquaintance, Reich said, "He's one of the only blacks you can talk to," before adding, "Blacks are getting ridiculous in the States now." Wilmer was shocked and enraged. Wouldn't you become politicized?" she concluded. The wider pressures on black composers in the 1970s can never be doubted. Radicals like James Baldwin and Angela Davis took time to think about what they were doing, then produced change, Mwamba adds. We actually need a deeper understanding of Beethoven to understand why we love his music. It's important we present this music from a position of love rather than hierarchy or power, or as something we've always done. So, yeah, Beethoven was black. There's no way to necessarily prove or disprove it. It's possible. It's possible that Beethoven was black. And so this is why it's kind of like this revolutionary thing to say, especially in like the 1960s, or when we're talking about these widespread political protests from like the Black Lives Matter movement. If Beethoven was perceived as black in the United States, whether or not he was actually black, if he had all of the same genius, all of the same skills, would he still be subjected to the same kind of racial biases right now? And I'd wager that yes. If Beethoven was black, which is possible, Beethoven could have also been shot in the back for carrying a sandwich. Yeah. On Betty Boop, the character was drawn white, but her likeness and baby talk affect, including the signature boop, boo, da boop, was stolen by white cartoonist Max Fleischer from Black Cotton Club singer Esther Jones, known by her stage name Baby Esther. Esther unsuccessfully tried to win the rights to the Betty Boop character until the day she died. That's very depressing and probably 100% accurate, yeah. Also, thank you for the 20 bits, Comrade Devin. I appreciate that immensely. Thank you. Well, this was a weird rabbit hole to go down, but I hope that it's somewhat illuminating, because it's true. We've had all kinds of black composers, both within the past century and before that, whose work has just been lost to time because white history preferred whiteness, preferred to uplift whiteness as a construct. And this is why when we're learning history, we need to pay attention to who is telling this story, who has the incentives, who has the perspective. And we need to be able to figure out how to construct a more full perspective of history. This is why things like the 1619 Project, by the way, are very important. Like the 1619 Project tells history in the United States from a Black perspective. And from a Black perspective, the history of the United States is one that is incredibly different from the white perspective. The Black history of the United States is one drenched in slavery and blood for hundreds of years until they were able to get freedom. So like this is an issue that we need to really take into account and address.